I think it's in a bit of flux at the moment. It's the market is softening. The economic climate and conditions are variable, let's say, and that's definitely a global element, not just here in the UK, but it's it's definitely a state of flux. I think there's a huge amount of M&A activity going on across the industry as well. And technology is really in the forefront of change. Some insurance companies are adapting to that, and some insurance companies are slower to adapt to that. So, there's been a bit of a tech arms race for quite a period of time, but with a lot of the large consultancies like McKinsey claiming there's a 62% reduction in workforce will happen through the use of AI over the next couple of years. It's a hot topic. Not many people are actually making that much progress, but it's a much talked about sort of topic of discussion. There's been a massive hype cycle, so I think there's a lot of different elements in play, and I think there's a moment for insurance companies to take the mantle and shine, should they wish to, or get left behind if they don't.
Yeah, maybe I can add a couple of points to as a trend. What I see typically when I was talking to insurance companies on hyper personalization, those who have ready with their big data, right? Because if they have sitting on rich data, organizations who figured out how do they harness the data, they are driving hyper personalization around pricing, buying experience, tailored policies. That's a winning price if you take care of your data well, right? So you can do hyper personalization, which will become a huge barrier for a new entrant, right? For example, some new insurance company around the corner, if they want to, it's easy for them to build these, but they don't have data, right? But these big insurance companies, they have a lot of data. Those who figure out how to do that, they have a huge edge as a trend, as a marketing. And also, I see a lot of regulatory evolution, right? Because some of the cyber laws, AI ethics. It's great to have AI, but around AI ethics, AI governance, data privacy, and those kind of things is also as a pattern I've seen. On one is on making sure that they win with the data and do it in the right way so that they don't appear in the press. Those are three key things around insurance 2025 for me.
I think there's quite often a more like a knee-jerk reaction to investment. As margins start to fall, or efficiency is not falling in line where it needs to be, then companies look at their investment portfolio and quite often cut out the innovative or the newer ideas of technology and take a bit of a black and white view, and that. While that can obviously get better and reduce costs and enable you to control short-term margin, it's really easy to do that. It's really difficult to actually generate what's the real shared value that you're creating. So doing something, re-platforming a policy admin system, because that's the long-term objective versus making getting your data into a great quality format that you can run an AI agent over. One might sound quite fancy and an exciting one, and you I'll cancel that, but that's the one that will give you the long and the short term gain. So really, not looking through a wide business value lens is a real error that you can make. You really need to be collaborating. So not just technology, not just business leaders, not just operations, not just leadership. Everybody needs to come together and look at the holistic view of investment, and that's an easy mistake to make, and one that many do.
Maybe only one more thing is over relying on legacy systems is something which I found in insurance because things used to work very differently few years back, and huge reliance on those processes around those legacy systems, which is very fragile right now because they have been in existence for few decades, and a lot of patchworks have happened around that, and a lot of band-aids have happened. So reliance on one of the biggest mistake happened to me is reliance on this huge legacy systems are one, it is bring down innovation because you need to invest more in support and continuously maintain these legacy estates, and change is something which I found insurance companies they don't like, right? So they don't want change. That's why they rely upon the legacy things. There are certain ways in which the target operating model is built, right? And they don't want to touch that and change it because that's why they still depend on the legacy system and try to polish the legacy systems. But you can't get too far from those legacy systems. Those are all big mistakes according to me.
Yeah, I think it's back down to that real driver of business value, and there's lots of companies that invest in tech for tech's sake because it's interesting or it's exciting, and it's and that doesn't help profit margins, and it also it breeds negativity around a transformational goal. So it's really having a properly aligned view and a P&L view of that cost versus the benefit. So if you know that. As we said, it's very cyclical, so you know things are going to change over time. So it's balancing that view of short-term pain for longer-term gain, and making sure that the investment you are making is going to have an impact on your profit margin over a longer period of time, not just on the short or a long-term view. You need to look at it holistically, and making sure you're balancing the value with the investment.
Yeah. Maybe one thing which is missing, which I've just seen many industries have done, is a test and learn approach, which I don't see much happening in insurance because, so for example, if you take some of the banks, asset managers, they have done this few years back. They have a sandbox kind of thing where they can get maybe a very bright new ideas. They can experiment in that sandbox, which is more like helping them as they work on their core operations. But these are something new things which get incubated, right? So having that test and learn approach, because you may not be ready with everything, right? It's all about don't wait for something which is getting ready and I can buy it, right? So typically insurance companies always buy things, right? Okay, I buy a policy admin, I buy this, I buy that. I think they are waiting for that instead of doing that, having innovation or incubation, or whatever you want to call it as, it's more of a sandbox where a test and learn should be a mindset there, right? So I think if once you have that, there's probably a better chance of success, when they have something more steady in that sandbox. So one is, of course, they need to get their data sorted, right? That's the first thing, right? You cannot win with any of the new technology innovation without having your data sorted out, right? Which is both your structured and unstructured data, because most of the insurance companies, around 60 to 70% of their data will be in unstructured form. It could be, PDF documents, it could be contracts, it could be images, text, voice calls. So a lot of opportunities. It should be harnessing that. So the way most of the use cases which we are seeing today is on how do you leverage value from these unstructured data, right? So traditionally, when they were building the AI models for pricing, models for fraud detection, models for analytics, all these it takes a long time because one biggest challenge was lack of quality data, right? So building the models are a huge challenge with them. So that's why the biggest advantage of an insurance company today is how do they leverage a model which already exists? Somebody else has built the model, like OpenAI or Gemini or Mistral. They have built the model, which is not easy for an insurance company to build, right? It's a huge, humongous model which understands the natural language. So, but what it don't have is it don't understand your context. You don't know your products, you don't know your customers, you don't understand your pricing strategy, you don't understand your underwriting principles, right? How do you bring this to this large AI model is where most of the innovation use cases are happening, right? So I use the intelligence of the brain, which is available for me as an API call now. But how do you make sure that I harness right kind of guardrails, security, so that I don't lose my data out, right? So most of the use cases are to making sure take these intelligence to your unstructured data, take these intelligence to your analytics, take these intelligence to your workflows, and that is where the most of the excitement around one part is solved. I have built the model is available for you, but how do you use it is very, very interesting and tricky, because if you don't have proper data and if you don't have proper tech and innovation available, it's very difficult to wrap around all your processes, technology, workflows, checks and balances, so that you are leveraging this. Those organizations who can leverage these large AI models, which is available for you effectively, they are far front runners always. Right? So they can run much faster because the time to build things are very low. You can create, for example, a fraud analysis model very quickly today. Unlike in few years back, it takes 6 to 9 months. Now you can do that in a few weeks because you don't need to build a model. Only thing is you need to build all your existing documents around fraud or patterns around that. You bring that to this AI model. So most of the use cases are around harnessing the value around the large AI models in a safe and secure way.
I guess I would add in from a sort of general view of insurance is that AI and exciting technology has been part of insurance for a long time. Pricing algorithms, as you said, fraud. So it's been part of the natural flow of some of the leading insurance companies for a long time. And I think the exciting part is not necessarily these are new parts of AI. It's just the accessibility. So the exciting use cases are more the mundane now, which is a bit up an oxymoron, but I think it is the mundane. It's about policy wording changes. It's something that it's quite simple, but it's really manual. So it's not exciting per se from a technology standpoint, but we can cut out a number of really mundane jobs from insurance. Very repetitive, very intelligent, but very repetitive tasks can be removed now in a short period of time. I think that's quite an exciting use case for the insurance company, rather for the people within the insurance company, rather than the technology side of it too. So I think there's two sides. There's exciting technology and exciting use cases. It's the number one advice I've been giving and to boards and insurance companies for a few years now. Is having that before AI was quite so talked about. It's without good quality data, you can't do anything. And insurance companies generally have large volumes of data, normally at a poor level of quality. So really making sure data governance is at the centre of what you're trying to achieve. To make sure you've got a really good offensive and defensive data strategy. So you can actually make sure you're curating the data, you're classifying the data in the right way, you're using some lovely data mesh or data lakehouse type solution, so you can pull that blend of structured and unstructured data together. But it's having it at the right level and the right quality. If having it together doesn't help, but having it at the right quality is the key. And that ownership of data between the business units, technology, the data teams, everybody have one version of the truth, which is dead important. And I think with the insurance companies that win won't be the ones with the best technology stack. They'll be the ones that trust their data and have to make decisions. That's the crux of it for me.
Yeah. And if you look from a system view, right? Any insurance company for that matter, they have systems of records. That's where your policy admin system, your underwriting system. So a lot of data get locked into those systems of records, right? And some organizations are building their systems of analytics. So that is where you bring the data from heterogeneous systems of records into the systems of analytics and try to look at data properly so that they can drive investments, they can drive priorities, they can take decisions based on that. So most of the times what happens is, since you don't have this systems of analytics, people try to use directly the systems of records. And those vendors are smart enough to leverage money by, I can provide you this view, I can provide you that view, pay this money for me, and stuff like that. So that was a perennial challenge with always insurance companies that depend on the systems of record to take decisions instead of, so they have a siloed view, right? That systems of record will show you only, for example, specialty insurance in this particular, whatever that is, right? But you don't have a holistic view. So that is where exactly what Graham said is bringing the systems of analytics view. And of course, according to me, there are two more views very important. The systems of engagement, that is where whether you are engaging with your partners, your DCA, brokers, all the channel, right? Who is accessing your data? So how do you bring that systems of engagement, which can build more and more stickiness towards your channel to get your data when they need, what they need, and how they need, right? So that's systems of engagement. Very few insurance have figured it out, but it's a huge gap in that space, right? And that's where all of the thing is how systems of intelligence is trying to wrap these things together, right? You have systems of engagement. I can bring more intelligence from the systems to make the systems of engagement more engaging, basically, right? So there is a right balance of these four systems now. Systems thinking, if you look at it, the systems of records, we need that, right? You can't take away systems of records, but the systems of analytics is critical, and that will enhance the systems of engagement if you have proper systems of intelligence, right? So that's where the mature organizations are thinking from the system view.
Yeah, I mean, it's having a really solid transformation process, breaking down silos, looking at value, working across the entire organic state. That's where you're getting the most value, and ensuring that you're tracking the ROI of any investments that you're making, and you're really strict about what you do and what you don't do, and focus on the data. Focus on the data. Always focus on the data, because that's where you'll get the biggest gains from. Replatforming rarely drives you actually the value that you think it's going to, and because insurance companies don't want to change, so they end up changing a platform, but it's doing exactly the same thing, so that the benefits don't really come. It's all the things around it, the data, the hyper-personalization, the user journey, the automation, the human in the loop, the decision making. That's where the real value is, but you've just got to chase the value.
It is critical, right? For any industry, especially insurance, is pretty critical. You cannot buy innovation. You can collaborate and partner. So you definitely need a balanced approach. Either could be a sandbox approach or approach in which you learn from the insurtechs or niche vendors like us, who go and do some test and learn kind of experiments. So it is critical. So if you don't experiment, if you don't test and learn, you will be left out, right? Because the space is moving so fast. The rate of change around AI and data is so fast. The only way you can catch up is not waiting and I will buy when it is ready, right? That is not going to happen in the space for the next at least 4 or 5 years. So it's important for them to do this test and learn. So you have to have an approach where look at the low hanging fruit, identify low risk use cases, try to get some quick win, and it's not only just about the tech here. It's about the hearts and minds of people in the workflow, right? Whether you're an underwriter or you're an analyst or you're a broker or whatever, whoever is the system, there's an adoption of change into this also. So that you cannot have a massive change and break down things, versus you should incrementally try those out, right? And in having a sandbox, do some experiment, make some small change, do the next one. So over a period of time, you don't see your change, right? So your change comes incrementally. So I think that's what, according to me, we should focus on.
I think it's also about just not really trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. It doesn't have to be. The insurance has been here for a long time. It hasn't monumentally changed. The people who've made it more efficient, driven more value, driven more efficiency, are the ones that have done the small incremental, just tweak continually. And exactly as Prasad was saying about experimentation, but don't get too lofty in ambition. Just get on with the simple stuff, and the value comes to drive from that.
Of course, there are a few areas we do well with insurance because of one of our core focus vertical is insurance. We do a lot of insurance SMEs and experience working with large and small insurance companies. The 3 areas where we help and focus on. One is around the data strategy, data build, data governance, and helping to modernize a transformation around data strategy and data program. Right? So which is critical, and we understand some of these you don't need to wait for years. We tend to deliver value in a few weeks, right? So taking a use case approach and bring what data you need for that particular use case, prove it, and create an opportunity to build a lot of data products That's one area we focus on. And second is on a platform approach, helping thinking as a platform thinking. So building platforms as well as helping the platforms to be migrated to cloud services and get best out of the cloud is one other area where we focus on. And third is around the AI, Gen AI, helping them to innovate, helping them to build sandboxes and try out use cases, experiment, iterate fast, and help them to adopt some of the great value this and promise AI has got. So the AI has got a great promise, but it needs to be harnessed effectively for an insurance context. So we help in the AI strategy, AI journey, of course, the governance around AI and security around AI. So things we help insurance companies. So trying to help them innovate fast and accelerate the rate of innovation, and as well as trying to reduce cost. So we help in both areas.